Auburn has some big shoes to fill as Jalen McLeod goes to the NFL. I think they got the guys to do it.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after a happy Wednesday as we continue to walk through this Auburn roster and talk about our outlooks on spring and everything that's going on as we get closer and closer to spring football and then eventually the 2025 season. Auburn's got some big shoes to fill. Jalen McLeod came in, made a big impact, had a great season last year. He's going to the NFL, but I think they got the guys to do it. And we're going to talk about who we have coming back, who we have coming in, and Auburn really having a lot of luck hitting on these transfer pass rushers. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com, use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off your order. If you live in the state of Alabama, you can go to any Publix. If you live in Birmingham, not only can you go to Publix, you can also go to the Piggly Wiggly. If you live in Auburn, you can not only go to the Publix, you can also go to Kroger and tons of other places. If you don't live close to any of those, you can go online to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Auburn family, show them some love. Show them support. Give it a try. The comments I've got, the feedback I've gotten has been incredible. You guys sending pictures, sending all the comments that you have on the flavor. The flavor is incredible. Salsa with a southern kick to it. It's really good, and that's the catch line. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. It's legit. That catchphrase it is very, very legit. All right, let's talk about pass rush. We've been walking through the roster. I wanted to separate defensive line and pass rush because I felt like they're going to play two critical roles. They're two completely different roles. There is a pass rush aspect from the interior defensive line, but then you have guys, those edges, those bucks, where their job is to get after the quarterback and just create havoc, wreak havoc. And Jalen McLeod did that better than a lot of folks last year. A little bit dinged up his first year here coming in from App State. He was healthy this year, and you could see his speed, multiple sacks, multiple tackles for loss. Very, very good player, and I think he's going to be a good NFL player in the very near future as well. So, obviously, you're going to lose that production. Who do you have already on the roster, and who do you have coming back that can fill those shoes? Again, I think Auburn's got some horses in the barn that I think can do it. And you got to lead off with our boy Keyron Crawford. Almost the exact same story. Lower tier school. Auburn identifies him right after Will Redmond gets here. Auburn identifies him, brings him in last spring. There's a little bit of a ramp-up period. I'm sure a little bit of a learning curve, getting adjusted to the speed. He became a force by the end of the year. You won't necessarily see it on the stat sheet, okay, yet. I think that comes this year. You won't necessarily see it on the stat sheet, but he was an absolute menace towards the end of the year. He and DeMarcus Riddick became a really good team where Keyron could flush the quarterback directly to DeMarcus Riddick. He could flush running backs, wide receivers in space, didn't matter. He could get the guys going in the direction to be able to lead them to another guy making a play. And not only that, the hurries, the speed off the edge, he really started to come into his own towards the end of the year. And that's usually how it goes. And guess what? Now he gets to be the guy. He gets to be the dude. He gets to be the Jalen McLeod this year. And I think he's got all the tools. He may be not quite as fast as Jalen, but I think he's got great explosion, and I think he's probably a little bit better built for this position. I think he's going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, and I think he'll be able to, dish out some punishment for sure this year. And I'm excited to see that natural progression, that natural next step. Again, came on strong late. He's got the explosiveness. He's got the length. Can he be a leader? Can he be a leader of that room? Can he sort of impose his will? That's what we're going to see. I think he's got all the tools to do it. And I'm definitely excited about seeing Keyron this year taking that lead dog role at that buck, edge, whatever you want to call it, outside linebacker. There's 100 different names for it, whatever you want to call it. Pass rushing specialist. Keyron's the man. Looks good coming off the bus too. Put that man out front. He's chiseled. Let's go. Keyron Crawford. Along the same theme, Auburn's shown that they're able to identify talent at maybe a quote unquote lower level. They're able to pick out those guys, in G5 conferences that game could translate to the SEC. They've shown that they've been able to do it. We just mentioned two of them right there. I think they might have done it again with Chris Murray from Sam Houston State. Auburn needed another pass rusher. You had two guys returning that are labeled, buck on the depth chart. Other than Keyron Crawford, you only had two guys coming back. Felt like Auburn needed some more experience there. You identified Sam Houston State, Chris Murray, and I think he also has the ability to be a very, very productive player. Again, they've had a lot of luck there. He had elite production at Sam Houston State. The question will just be, can it translate? He doesn't have the multi-year opportunity that Keyron and Jalen had. He's going to have to come in and make it happen year one. He's going to have to come in and get after it. And I think you got to have that mindset. If you're going to take that risk, if you're going to bet on yourself, you got to come in ready to go. Spring's going to be massive for this kid. Think about that 1-2 punch. If Chris can be as good as we think he can be, that 1-2 punch of he and Keyron could be fun to watch. Could be fun to watch. I mean, physically, you couldn't ask for anything more out of both of these guys. Chris is very, very physically impressive. The tools, a lot of times, those things probably matter more than anything when it comes to rushing the passer. There's some bit of it that's, just want to and desire. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to Jamonta Waller. But some of it, man, length to be able to, get separation from those offensive tackles, the burst to be able to get around them, and then the strength to be able to set the edge against the run. All of those physical traits are very, very important, and these two guys have those. And I can't wait to see that 1-2 punch. I'm trying to think of like a good comparison of like guys in the past. Auburn's been traditionally more of a, over the years been more of, 4-3, but like two defensive ends instead of, the looks that we've been getting over the past couple of years. So it's hard to really think of a good tandem that kind of fits this physical profile, these two guys. But I think they can be fun to watch. Auburn, but hey, they're not the only one. That's why I said there's some big shoes to fill. Auburn's got options. You got some guys returning. You got Jamonta Waller. You got Joe Phillips. Do not forget about Jamonta Waller. Don't let him get out of your memory. I talked about physical tools, okay, how important they are. Jamonta's a little bit smaller. He's not as long as these other guys. But his first step may be as explosive as anybody in the SEC. He's got that first step, that first burst that I think helps him overcome some of his limited physical attributes. He's still got the long arms. He's still got length, even at 6 foot. He's going to have the weight. He's going to be able to have the mass to be able to set the edge. But that burst, man, I'm telling y'all, go watch his highlight film from high school. That first step, that burst is something special. Do not forget about him. He broke his foot last year. He did not get the time that a lot of these other freshmen, those talented freshmen, got out of that class. If he's healthy, I honestly think he has the potential to be maybe Auburn's most dangerous pass rusher because of that burst. Elite burst, elite first step. And I think that's why, Auburn went after him so hard to flip him from Florida. It was funny because his 40 was not mega impressive, but his like 10, what is it, your 10-yard split was like, holy cow. He gets up to top speed like immediately. Boom. That first step is impressive, guys. And I don't want you to forget that name. Because if he's healthy this year and he's locked in, just another weapon you can have to send to the quarterback, another weapon you have to be disruptive on obvious pass rushing downs. He's got some guys in front of him he's going to have to deal with. He's going to have to still be a little bit patient. But boy, oh boy, the pass rushing packages you could come up with some of these guys, and then Jamonta Waller as well, could be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Joe Phillips. He's an intriguing prospect, man. I don't know where he fits. He's mega athletic. He's sort of like Jamonta in the fact that he doesn't have the physical gifts. He's not 6'3". He's not, super long, not super bendy. But he has the athleticism to where the fact that he was looked at to be a middle linebacker at Georgia. Where does he fit in this defense? That's one, I think, a storyline to watch in spring. Where does Joseph Phillips fits? Where does Joseph Phillips fit? There we go. Does he stick at edge? Or does he make that move to linebacker? We talked about the linebacker room, a couple of days ago, and how there's not a ton of experience there. There's actually very little experience at all, to the point where you may be looking to go to the transfer portal to find that experience. Do you end up going there, or do you look and see if Joseph Phillips could possibly fill that role? You're not going to gain any experience, but you're going to gain possibly some athleticism. Still a big kid. He's still like 250 pounds. But he's just not that, not that 6'3", 6'4" NFL prototype size at the pass rushing end. Very, very intriguing storyline to follow. I can't wait to see what happens with Joseph Phillips. Durkin, if anybody can find a way to utilize Joe Phillips, it'll be DJ Durkin. Freshman to watch. We're going to jump into that in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to mybookie.ag. Use coupon code BARN, BARN, for a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. So you give them $100, they're going to give you 50 back free to play with. Can't beat that. Again, you can do that up to $1,000. Just put that coupon code in, save big, get your account ready for March Madness. And also, I think they give you $10 to play with in the casino too. So there's some casino games you can have some fun with if you're into that. All the lines you can imagine, all the sports you can imagine. Show them some love. Don't forget the coupon code mybookie.ag. Freshman stud to watch is Jared Smith. Is he a star in the making? Jared Smith is a guy that got better every time he steps. That got better. Jared Smith gets better every time he steps on the football field. He was a little bit of an unknown going into this season because he transferred. Now you're playing for Thompson, who is, one of the better programs, if not the best program in the state of Alabama. Maybe not a ton of production at his previous school. But you go to Thompson and you're like, man, he's about to go get in line with a bunch of really good players. And he ended up being one of the best of the bunch, maybe the best of the bunch. Very, very physically impressive. Definitely a get off the bus first type player. 6'6", 245. and you're thinking, oh, that's a big defensive end. I mean, yeah, but this kid has the burst, still has the burst of one of those smaller guys. But now you get to couple that with the link and all the physical gifts. He, like I said, he got better every time. He gets better every time he steps on the field. He goes to the Under Armour or the All-American games. I'm not sure exactly which one he played with, but I just remember that he was always getting some of the most rave reviews. He was always talked about as one of the most impressive players there, so much so that his ranking kept climbing and climbing and climbing until I think he became a 5-star on at least 2 sites. It's not often Auburn gets, a 5-star pass rusher. Those 5-star pass rushers are highly, highly sought after. He came in last summer, worked out for Auburn when they didn't really know where they were going to go at that position. Kind of wowed everybody, and they're like, "Okay, we got to get this kid in the class." You locked him in. You battled off. You fought off some schools like Ole Miss and others there down the stretch. And you won him in the end. Too talented to keep off the field. I know I keep saying that, but 90%, I feel like, of coaching in today's game is trying to figure out how to keep everybody happy. Try to keep the mouths fed. Got to figure out ways to play this kid because he's just that good. And if he's continuing that trajectory of getting better every single time you go out to practice with that mindset, where could he be by the end of the year? Where could he be by the end of spring? He's going to be good. He's going to be a really good one. This could be one of the more fun pass rushing defenses, I feel like. We talked about the defensive line, interior defensive line yesterday. We talked about the edges and the outside linebacker, bucks, whatever you want to call it today. We talked about some of the speed that you have at linebacker a couple of days ago. This could be one of the more fun pass rushing teams. Auburn I feel like we have trouble. We've had trouble for a while now, like really getting to the passer. Last year, you started to really affect the quarterback at times. Another year in this Durkin system, I think you'll just kind of continue to build on that. This could be a very, very fun pass rushing team. The key factors for success, obviously, you got to stay healthy. I think we got to get Waller on the field for that elite burst. The production from the new faces. Is Chris Murray the guy that we think he's going to be? Can he be a good tandem with Keyron Crawford? Is Jared Smith who we think he is? Could he be a standout freshman All-American type player? Finding defined roles. This is what kind of goes back to figuring out where these guys fit. That's the key to spring. No wasted talent. You got to be, if you're going to put all these resources into these guys, you can't waste it. And I think the staff knows that. That defensive side, hey, how many young guys were played last year? If you weren't injured, you got playing time last year. If you're good and you didn't get injured, you got playing time last year. I love the way they work that on the defensive side. Offensive side is getting there. They got to figure out how to move the ball on offensive side first. Who do you think is going to be the top pass rusher this year? Who do you think is going to be the sack leader on this team? Love to know your thoughts. Is Chris Murray going to continue this tradition of cherry picking G5 studs at pass rush? I think he's got a chance to do it. Am I crazy? Do you think I'm crazy on the potential of this group? I really do. I'm really excited about the potential pass rush of this group. Drop your comments below. I try to answer every single one. We'll obviously have some fun and have some continue that conversation there. So, guys, I really appreciate you joining. Don't forget to check out mybookie.ag. Use that coupon code BARN for a 50% deposit bonus. And if you need a real estate agent, hit me up. You can send me a message on Twitter. Send me a message on Instagram. You can email me at crush with a K at thekeyagency.realestate. If you're moving to Auburn, moving out of Auburn, or you want to invest in Auburn, I'm your guy. So hit me up. We'll have some fun. So, guys, I really appreciate you listening. This is another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
for listening, and drive home safely.